What's up, friends? Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. And we are into this beautiful month of May. And, it's such an interesting thing to think about, the history that is the Web3 space. And May, to me, is like one of the biggest months, right? Not only is it, an anniversary for a lot of the big projects that many of us are aware of. If we're lucky, some of you, if you're lucky enough to hold them, you're very aware that this is 2-year anniversary for Bored Ape, and of course VFriends announcements and some of the big things that happened even in the Top Shop world, and a lot of the projects. That to me is an exciting part. But also May represents, for those that were here last year, also part of the time where the market started to really, show its signs that we were going into a bear market, right? And it also was, the signs of some of the bigger trends, some of the early AI art projects, some of the first, the first free mints that started to happen last year. But May is also, it's a heavy month for those of us that are speakers and creators. I always say, for those that I coach that are speakers or creators that are monetizing, May is one of those months where you want to tap into the summer budget of attention that a lot of our clients have. I just got back from CEX this week, the Creator Expo there in Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Joe Polizzi and the Tilt News team. They put on just an amazing event, great speakers, great conversations with vendors and friends, and some new project collaborations, and even some new partners that we will be announcing very soon here on the podcast. And I have to say, one of my biggest takeaways from the Creator Expo, but also something for us to think about right now, is that when we are working with brands or working with collaborations, it's essential for us to people always say we have to dumb things down. I don't think that's the right language. It's not about dumbing down what's happening in the space, but it's about translating what are the fundamental cores of things that many of us believe in this space, and translating it and wrapping it in a way that others can actually receive it. And I will tell you, AI right now is going through a massive attention swing, right? And it's actually 1 year now since I've been playing in AI, since I created my very first Mid-Journey prompt. Will actually be the first week of June was when I did that. Really, the first time that I actually got in there under my own account and did my very first my own kind of prompting, which is kind of a cool thing. And I'll talk about more of that in a future episode. But AI, when it first kind of came onto the market, 2014, 2015, 2016, from a standpoint of came onto the market from a productized solution, it was polarizing. Not only was it polarizing, but it activated for many people this like narrative around what we can control and what we can't control. And I would argue NFTs and Web3 kind of walked into that same kind of area, and a lot of it having to do with crypto, right? Crypto being, really the first mass adopted use case of blockchain. And, take it for what it's worth, when you put a financial component that is disrupting the way that we even think about money or value exchange, that's going to be polarizing no matter what. Right. Then you have a lot of the scammy artists. What does this mean? I even heard the Joe Rogan quote about he doesn't even understand it. I can't touch it. And it's so funny because I worked in the data center space for a long while. And I will tell you, every tech executive would say, I have to be in a data center. I can't move to the cloud because I need to know where it's at, because that's how I know it's secure. And I'll just tell you, that's just the most asinine thought process. And it's the same thing with currency. Like, oh, I need to be able to touch and feel it. And it's like, do you know the gold reserve? Have you touched the gold and know that, have you even seen the gold that is backing our financial dollar? And I don't even want to go down that stream because there's not gold backing our financial dollar, but there is a lot of this, and I won't even say it's misconception, right? It's a lot of this, the way that we ground ourselves in many cases, right? The way that people think about things about, how do they connect the dots, right? Is about things like, tangibility of it, right? Can I touch it? Can I see it? Okay, then it's more real to me, right? Yet these are the same people that believe in God and believe that, the world was created where it was, and they didn't see or touch or have personal connection to that, right? So our ability to believe in something is often swayed by not only the masses, but often over a long period of time of people understanding it and starting to embrace it and starting to wrap it around things that matter to them. And most of you know, I focus a lot on use cases here on the podcast. And if you're listening to this episode, maybe it's the first time you're listening to the show, definitely go back and look at a lot of the use cases that we've talked about here, from nonprofits to the Starbucks use case to the Playboy Rabbitars use case to Time Magazine. We've talked a lot of use cases here on the podcast for coaches and digital leaders. But I will say, the branding around the word NFT, even in the creator community, is very disconnected. And I will tell you, and you might have seen this from the episode, the title of this episode, but there are people right now are craving that. How do I build a digital community? How do I create this connection of community, and how do I really scale that, and how do I monetize my content creation? But when they hear, like, how do I use NFTs or POAPs, or how do I integrate creator coins, to them the easy answer is, my community, my audience is not ready for that. The truth is that the tech isn't ready for that in many cases. There's also just this underlying feeling like, hey, it's already hard enough for me to sell my goods and services. And then on top of it, I have to convince them that NFTs are legit. They're not a passing fad. I have to convince them there's a difference between Pepe meme coins and NFTs that are backed with an actual smart contract that are built on the blockchain around companies versus something that is built on hype. And that's no shade on either side of this, right? Like, for me, like, I love that we can leverage the blockchain and we can play with it in so many different ways. But in many cases, that has got us to an area where I will tell you, people came running up to me for AI advice and wanted me to help them with AI art. I'm now doing a lot. I actually have 4 different live right now. I'm working on 4 different commissioned projects, right? 2 that are in the Web3 space, 2 that are outside of the Web3 space, that they're commissioning me to create art for them for the projects that they are working on, which I'm just blessed with. And for anyone that's out there is looking for commissioned art that likes my style and appreciates how I kind of bring things to life in that art sense, feel free to hit me up. But that's not what this is about, in the sense that what I found was so amazing is that people were excited, but they want me to teach them how to better use Chat GPT. And I did a whole keynote on that this week, and I have some events that want me to speak at their company event on that topic. And we're of course leaning into that. But funny enough, when I listen to the creators, when I listen to those, many of you that are listening to this podcast, when I listen to the things that you want to accomplish, that you are looking to grow, a lot of them, NFTs, creator coins, Web3, will be an essential component of it. But where we are at in the adoption process of your audience, of your community, of even just being a content creator, right? I will tell you, I've started a little list of people that want me to help them launch their very first podcast and or how to take their Twitter spaces and monetize that, right? Like, not just have a Twitter space that they're doing, but actually add a layer of monetizing to it. And that's something that we're rolling out here with my community and my team that we will be able to be a part of, and I'll share more about that in the future. But what I found really, really compelling through this whole thing was that ultimately we are all working to solve a lot of the same problems. And even the biggest projects, I would argue right now, Yuga Labs, their struggle is digital community. I would argue that VFriends, if you look at what VFriends is doing leading up to VCon, and shout out to all of those that were announced as a VCon speaker recently. I know a lot of good friends that had messaged me that they put in their names to be on the community stage there at VCon, and so many of them, many of our past guests of the podcast are going to be there on that stage, and I couldn't be more excited for them to get that opportunity to share their experience and have that kind of exciting opportunity there at VCon. And I will say, like, I love working with speakers to build better presentations. I love working with speakers to monetize themselves as a speaker. I love working with people to understand the nuanced version of being a content creator. And I get to work with lots of brands. I signed a brand partnership last week to create content internally for their company, right? So I will be creating videos for their company to be able to use internally, and that came actually through one of my the ways that I like to build content and monetize and around UGC and some of those things. But I will tell you that the underlying piece of this that also stood out to me is that the lack of not only marketing basics, but the lack of a let's just say a content hub structure and a content hub strategy, and understanding really how to. It's not and I hate because as soon as someone says you have to build a funnel, then it comes about selling people, right? But if you think about a funnel outside of the sales funnel, right? There's also a funnel of what is the entry point, right? I like to use the word entry point versus funnel, right? Anyone that listens to the podcast knows that. What are the entry point for people to kind of come into your community to connect with you as a creator? And then what are you doing for them, right? How are you servicing them? What are the options that you're providing them? And I will tell you, I'm just going to share, I've been guilty of not launching and delivering a couple of things that we have already built out, mainly just because I wanted to wait for the Web3 technology or front door to exist. And I'm no longer waiting. That we are done with that. I'm excited. I'll be launching very soon an announcement with a new partner of mine. That's actually, I say new partner, but it's a previous partner of mine that I worked with for a couple of years back in the day. And we are now coming back together to launch something really cool for our listeners, really cool for our community. And I can't wait to kind of get that out to the world, because I really think it's going to be something that a lot of projects, a lot of leaders, a lot of people can mirror and implement within their communities as well. But I will tell you, it was so interesting these last couple of creator events where creators are excited for AI and they're hesitant and pushing off NFTs. And I think that also kind of comes in the realm of AI right now has the visualization of just two things, right? Chat GPT and art. But let's face it, I mean, there's 5,000 new tools that are popping up a week in the AI front, right? So yes, people are excited about it, but I think the number was less than 1% of people that have logged in and typed in a prompt in the chat GPT have come back a second time, right? Less than 1% of people. Why is that? Because the novelty of it, the idea of it is exciting. But then it's well, how do I implement that? And it's truthfully why for me, it's less about me helping you build prompts and more about me helping you get a mindset that allows prompts to fit in to your workflow and what you're designing and what you're creating and why we're doing certain things. And it's why, for my art, I know so many of you that have bought my AI art, it looks like nothing else that anyone else is doing. Yet a lot of the AI art tools are helping people create their art very similar. And the reason that is because I'm not taking the same approach to my design of my AI art as everyone else. And I'm going to challenge every NFT project, every creator, every person that has a story to tell. I know many of you listening to this right now, you have a story to tell. And you're doing a disservice to the public. You're doing a disservice to those around you, those that you care, by not telling your story. I've been preaching that since 2012. 2012 was the first time I ever got up on a stage and I told somebody that I believed that everyone had a story and that I believed that digital and social media gives us the megaphone. The problem is the people that took the megaphone are the scam artists, the sleazy people that are trying to sell unicorns, rainbows, and BS. And truthfully, I'm here to tell you at a bigger piece of this puzzle, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go for us to kind of wrap our heads around a lot of these things to start formulating the things that we need to make sense, especially in the NFT space. I don't believe the NFT space needs more education. We need more of a hub. We need more construction around. We need more systems around education. We don't need more learn to earn. We need more understanding of, okay, who are the different vehicles that are coming in? I mean, I sat down with two creators in the last week. One of them over 1 million subs on YouTube. The other one, multiple millions on TikTok. And I will tell you, they are the perfect creators to come into this NFT space. Yet I told them that their audience and their entire structure of what they're building is not there yet. It's not to the point where they've, one of them has not monetized directly to their audience. The other one has not, well, I guess the same one has, most of their monetization has come off of brand deals that have been inbound that are, kind of more at a, based on what's going on around them. One of them happened to be brought to the F1 race this weekend, and I know she's listening, but I will keep that on the down low until I think we're going to have her on the podcast. Actually, I asked her that, if you come on the podcast, I would love to talk out the NFT use cases with you live on the air and kind of walk through, because I think that will help a lot of us as well. And I think for me, the bigger part of this conversation, and maybe it's been a theme recently here on the podcast, is that I do feel like we have to package up what we are presenting, how we talk about what we talk about, and even where we talk about what we talk about. I think there is a massive opportunity to create great Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram content around digital community ownership, the understanding of what does ownership mean in a digital world where we've lost control of our data. Yet, let's face it, that's not where a lot of the conversation happens. And, so much so that I even, I'm doing a little experiment here in my own creator world. And I'm trying to spend less time on Twitter and more time interacting and engaging on the other platforms, not because I don't love Twitter, and not because I don't understand the value of Twitter, but I also understand that it's a lot easier to go in and talk on a Twitter space with people that get what we're talking about, that are curious about what we're talking about, than for us to fire up an Instagram live or to go create a LinkedIn event and do it over there. But I will tell you, that's where people are looking that are eager. That's where a lot of our low-hanging fruit is. That's where a lot of people that have the budget that want to come in and play in this space that are still trying to figure it out, right? And I think that is something that is really beautiful about this. And the other part of this, and I want to share this kind of feedback that I got, is that I had some people talk to me about, they were afraid or believed that I got distracted or became more heavily a degen of an NFT creator than I was of a NFT collector or believer in the blockchain. And I will say, I don't, my conviction of the blockchain and NFTs has not wavered one bit. But I will say that there definitely was a shift in attention. Even when I would ask, who are the guests that want to become on the podcast, a lot of the loud voices on who they wanted to be guests on the podcast were people that were leaned much more into the collectible space and a lot less into the use case space. And I take ownership in that. But I will also tell you that that hasn't stopped me from believing in use cases that are much bigger than us, much bigger than what we are actually creating. And I'm excited for more things to come. I'm excited to work with many of you to create a lot of this creator hub world, to build out what I believe every NFT project should have. I believe every NFT project has to think like a media company. But what does that mean? And how do you have a media spokesperson and the people that are your front people and your back people? How do you have a membership community that has content and keeps people engaged? How do I leverage gamification and grow within this space? And I will tell you, that stuff I've been doing for 9+ years. And for whatever reason, I've held back on putting it out there. I've held back on kind of implementing it, mainly because I was believing that it needed to be gated or leveraging of NFTs. And I think that to me was a mistake that I made. But it will not be a mistake that I make moving forward. And I'm excited to have more of that announcement, as we go forward. But I do feel, it's funny, if you go back and listen to the original Starbucks announcement, I believe October of last year, whenever they announced that Starbucks was calling it not an NFT wallet, but an NFT passport, not NFTs, but calling them stamps. The thing that I challenged was, I wonder if this is making us need more education, not streamlining education, because now it's even confusing people. Are they creating a custodial wallet or non-custodial wallet? Well, I'm here to tell you, I didn't see where we were going. And where we've been going is that the narrative and the bias and the stigma around NFTs and crypto and coins is so strong right now that not only do we have a branding reputation problem, But it's not about saying, and I hate this, like every Twitter space is like, well, I'll know that like in 5 years, they're not even going to use the word NFT. It's easy to say that. It is a lot harder to talk about this space, create content, create experiences, create membership groups that and do it without it being about the NFT, because that's like the shiny object. It's where we play, but that's where I'm moving. That's where I'm focusing my attention on. And for those that are like kind of overwhelmed by that or concerned by that or still trying to figure that out, guess what? Come on this journey with us. We're going to do this together. I'm here to do this with you, and I'm excited for all that we have coming forward in the very near future. I'm excited for what it means to all of us. I think we are at a critical like inflection point where there's big brands, there's big tools, but more so than anything else, there is a desire right now for us to feel a sense of belonging, to find our people, to connect deeply with people, and ultimately build that community online and offline through a sense of shared ownership. We just have to repackage this and rethink how we are rolling this out, how we are talking about it. And that's going to be what I focus on from this day forward. And I'm excited for you to be on this journey with me. Also have to give a shout out to the partners and brands that are working with us. I know I've mentioned bigroom.tv. If you check them out, bigroom.tv, use the link in my bio because it'll connect you with my account. And as they're rolling out new features within this tool, you're going to be able to have those new features in this tool because you're associated with my account as you sign up. It's a free sign up right now. I know they are adding a monetization level in there, so you definitely want to click that link sooner than later and make sure you sign up, confirm your email address so that you can be in this wave. But for me, part of the hardest part about being a creator is all of the other things, right? Like many of us that if I set you up to succeed, if I give you a microphone, if I give you a camera, if I give you a Google Doc, you will hammer it out. But a lot of the editing, a lot of the producing, a lot of the distribution can be not only overwhelming, but it can be crippling in our ability to do what we do. And there's tools that are being built right now that are helping that out. And BigRoom.tv happens to be one of them. I'm proud to be a partner with them. I also love that they're working with me to better understand the creator workflow. I will tell you, a lot of these AI tools are going to fail, not because they don't have amazing tech, because a lot of them do have amazing tech. But a lot of them are going to fail is because they don't understand the creator problem, the creator lifestyle, the creator workflow. And they're trying ultimately to solve a problem that either doesn't exist or they're adding too many steps to solve the problem. And for many of us, we don't need extra steps. We don't even, in many cases, you don't need to save me time. If you can actually simplify the entire process, it's not about me getting that time back, but it's me removing that barrier to entry. And so there are some great tools that are out there, more of them that I'll feature here on the podcast. But definitely use that link for bigroom.tv before they turn on the paywall there, and make sure you confirm your email address so we can make sure that you're attached and they will know that you were onboarded through my community here on NFT 365. And then also always, my friends, it's a great day to let people know you care. It is Mental Health Awareness Week as well, month. I will share that it's mental health has been a lot for me recently, and there's an Adderall shortage, and I've had to deal with a lot of things that I didn't plan on dealing with within that, right? And having to, the struggle is real, and I just challenge everybody to own that, to realize that we don't ever know what is impacting people. And we're not ever, can believe that, even just because someone smiles on Instagram, just because when you meet someone in person, they feel like they have it all together. Those are actually probably the people we should be checking on the most during this time. And I also challenge you to, consume content right now. I know it can be overwhelming. And for some people, they're like, I don't know if I need to even, be aware of this. But, part of the reason that Mental Health Awareness Month exists is because a lot of people won't seek out the content when they know they need it. But if we're able to integrate the content and put it in front of people without them having to feel like they have to seek it out, then we might save one life. We might allow one person to feel less alone. We might have one person to go in and get diagnosed with ADHD or to get checked out and deal with the troubling thoughts they might have. And I really do say, like, I'm thankful. I love and appreciate each And every one of you listeners that are on this journey, if you're a new listener, thanks for coming. If you have been here this whole time, I can't say thank you enough. And we have a long way to go. We are definitely still just getting started. But at the same time, we also have to look out for each other. Until tomorrow, my friends, make it a great day. Cheers.